What if the secret to becoming truly successful wasn't about working longer hours, having more talent, or even knowing the right people, but simply about how you think? That's the provocative question John C. Maxwell answers in How Successful People Think, a concise but deeply impactful exploration of the thinking patterns that separate achievers from the average. Maxwell argues that success begins not in doing, but in thinking, in learning to approach problems, opportunities, relationships, and decisions in a fundamentally different way. And the best part? These thinking habits aren't some mysterious gift only a few are born with. They're skills, developed, honed, and practiced over time. By adopting the mental strategies used by high performers, you can literally rewire your brain to think like a winner, unlocking creativity, clarity, and results in every area of your life. The book outlines 11 distinct types of thinking, each essential in its own way. These thinking modes aren't meant to be mastered all at once, but rather layered over time, like tools in a mental toolbox, each ready for use depending on the challenge at hand. Whether you want to lead a team, build a business, or simply improve your decision-making, cultivating these thinking habits will give you a dramatic edge. What follows is a deeper, immersive dive into each type of thinking, along with practical insights on how to bring them into your own life. Big picture thinking is where it all begins. Maxwell shows that the most successful people have trained themselves to look beyond the moment, beyond their own interests, and beyond the surface. They don't just react, they rise above. Instead of focusing only on immediate tasks or temporary rewards, they consider long-term outcomes, the interconnectedness of actions, and how their decisions impact others. This type of thinking requires maturity and humility, as it forces you to recognize that your actions exist in a broader ecosystem. For example, a leader who thinks big doesn't just ask, "How can we hit this quarter's numbers?" They ask, "How will today's decisions position us in 5 years?" They zoom out, gather perspective, and often see what others miss. You can develop this habit by intentionally stepping back from problems before acting, seeking input from people with different viewpoints, and resisting the urge to micromanage every detail. Big picture thinkers become visionaries because they can imagine a future worth building and then work backward to bring it to life. Focused thinking is the ability to cut through noise and distractions to zero in on what really matters. In today's hyper-connected, overstimulated world, this is one of the most valuable cognitive skills you can develop. Maxwell emphasizes that successful people don't just stay busy, they stay focused. They know what deserves their attention, and they protect that attention like gold. Focused thinking brings clarity and direction. It allows you to define the problem you're solving and devote deep energy to it, instead of constantly multitasking and reacting to whatever is loudest. Focus isn't just about saying yes, it's about the discipline to say no to 1,000 things, so you can say yes to the one thing that truly matters. To build this skill, eliminate distractions from your workspace, protect blocks of time for deep work, and set clear goals before jumping into action. Over time, focused thinking helps you achieve more with less effort because your energy is concentrated on what counts. Creative thinking is often misunderstood as a trait reserved for artists or naturally creative types, but Maxwell dismantles that myth. Creativity, he argues, is simply thinking differently, thinking beyond the obvious, daring to imagine new possibilities, and refusing to be boxed in by the way things have always been done. Creative thinkers see patterns others don't. They question assumptions, experiment with ideas, and often come up with unconventional solutions to ordinary problems. What makes them successful isn't just that they're imaginative, it's that they're brave enough to chase their ideas, even when they seem impractical. Creativity thrives in openness, curiosity, and play. To spark more of it, expose yourself to new experiences, Ask what-if questions regularly, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you create, the more creative you become. Maxwell reminds us that creativity isn't a lightning strike, it's a habit. Realistic thinking may seem like the opposite of creativity, but Maxwell argues that it's a vital complement. Successful people know when to dream and when to ground those dreams in facts. Realistic thinkers assess resources, identify constraints, and anticipate challenges, not to discourage progress, but to prepare for it wisely. This form of thinking allows you to assess risk, forecast outcomes, and avoid blind. It's about looking the truth square in the face and asking, what's actually possible here given what we know? While optimism fuels motivation, realism ensures sustainability. You can strengthen this muscle by gathering reliable data before making decisions, stress testing your plans, and asking trusted peers to poke holes in your ideas. Being realistic doesn't mean being pessimistic. It means being prepared. Strategic thinking, Maxwell explains, is the kind of thinking that connects today's actions to tomorrow's goals. It's the bridge between vision and execution. Strategic thinkers don't just act, they align. They ensure that every step taken fits into a coherent plan, moving them closer to their objective. Strategic thinkers often reverse engineer success. They define the desired end result, then work backward to map out the actions required. This helps them avoid wasted effort and focus their resources on what drives momentum. To become more strategic, regularly review your priorities, assess whether your current actions are aligned with your long-term vision, and learn to anticipate obstacles before they arise. Strategy is the art of intention. It turns effort into effectiveness. Possibility thinking fuels courage. According to Maxwell, people who think in terms of possibilities refuse to be limited by fear, failure, or convention. They believe solutions exist even when they aren't obvious. They imagine new futures even when others say it can't be done. Possibility thinkers are the ones who change industries, launch movements, and lead revolutions. They're also the ones who keep going when others quit. The essence of this thinking mode is hope blended with action. It's refusing to accept no as final. To cultivate this mindset, challenge limiting beliefs, study people who've accomplished the impossible, and constantly ask yourself, what's one bold idea I haven't tried yet? Every breakthrough begins with a possibility thinker who dared to ask, why not? Reflective thinking may be one of the most undervalued habits in today's hustle-driven world, but Maxwell insists it's essential. Reflection gives meaning to experience. It allows you to mine your past for wisdom, connect the dots, and avoid repeating mistakes. High achievers often schedule time to review their actions, ask what they've learned, and adjust their behavior accordingly. Reflective thinkers grow faster because they learn more from every experience. This doesn't require hours of meditation. It could be as simple as journaling, reviewing your calendar, or ending each day by asking, what went well today? What didn't? What will I do differently? Reflection transforms busyness into wisdom. Questioning, or popular thinking, as Maxwell puts it, is the art of refusing to follow the crowd just because it's easy. Successful people resist the herd mentality. They don't believe something is right just because it's widely accepted. Instead, they challenge assumptions, seek evidence, and make decisions based on values, not trends. Maxwell encourages readers to be critical thinkers, to ask hard questions, and not settle for the first answer. This kind of thinking protects you from poor decisions, groupthink, and short-term fads. It empowers you to lead rather than follow. To practice it, play devil's advocate with your own beliefs. Listen to people who disagree with you and build the courage to take unpopular stands when necessary. Shared thinking involves collaborating with others to solve problems and generate ideas. Maxwell believes no one succeeds alone, and the best ideas are rarely born in isolation. Successful people build networks of thinkers they can bounce ideas off of. They don't let pride get in the way of learning. They ask for input, listen actively, and view others as assets. Collaboration multiplies insight. To practice shared thinking, seek out mentors, join mastermind groups, or simply cultivate a habit of asking, "What do you think?" when facing tough choices. Great thinkers aren't lone wolves. They're team players. Unselfish thinking is about lifting others up, not just advancing yourself. Maxwell makes the case that the most fulfilled and successful people think in terms of contribution, not just acquisition. They're constantly asking, "How can I add value to others?" This mindset builds trust, deepens relationships, and leads to opportunities that self-centered thinking never could. Practicing unselfish thinking means listening more than you talk, mentoring others, and making generosity a daily habit. Ironically, the more you give, the more you grow. Finally, bottom-line thinking is about results. While visionary and creative thinking are essential, Maxwell argues that successful people also know how to ask, "What's the outcome here?" They measure progress, evaluate impact, and hold themselves accountable. This form of thinking ensures that dreams don't remain dreams. They become results. You can cultivate it by setting measurable goals, tracking your progress consistently, and being honest about what's working and what's not. Bottom-line thinkers are driven not just by ideas, but by execution. Thinking is a skill, and like any skill, it can be improved. In How Successful People Think, John Maxwell delivers a roadmap for doing just that, offering readers a toolbox of thinking patterns that lead to stronger decisions, deeper creativity, clearer goals, and ultimately, greater success. By practicing these mental habits daily, thinking big, thinking deep, thinking critically, and thinking for others, you don't just change your mind, you change your life. Because success, at its core, is not a product of chance or circumstance. It's a byproduct of how you think,